We are using Frame.io for work, for our professional work. But the missing link for me is to be able to edit from within Frame.io. If the footage is already there, why not to import it to the timeline and work with it? Anything new? Because it was literally silent about Frame.io in these 3 days.
All I can say is that is a very interesting workflow request, and it's not the first time I've heard it.
Nobody's watching, nobody's listening. Can you elaborate, please?
I cannot, no.
CineD, your digital cinema tech resource, supported by B&H and CVP.
Hi guys, I'm Johnnie from CineD and I'm here with Meagan from Adobe. Meagan, how are you?
I'm so well. How are you?
I'm always good. What is the choice in life? You tell me. Anyway, we're not talking about life here. We're going to talk about mostly, I guess, Adobe Premiere at the end.
Absolutely.
But for the people that don't really know you, what is your position at Adobe?
Yes, so I am Director of Product Marketing across our Pro Video software. And really, my role is to lead business strategy that informs a lot of our product decisions and prioritization. So, myself and my team look at market trends, market insights, customer, voice of the customer is a really big part of how we define our strategies. And then we work hand in hand with the product teams to look at what we should be developing, how we should be prioritizing the work to say what comes next in Premiere and After Effects.
That sounds exciting, but you're also actually coming from the production side,
Yeah.
which is really a valuable thing.
Yes, so my background is I spent about 10 years as a documentary feature filmmaker. I went to film school, I graduated from USC, have a master's in film. I also did a fair amount of work in commercial post-production. So I have what I call the experience of sitting in the seat. And my team is actually very similar. We have a whole team of folks on my team who come from the industry. We're professional editors, workflow technologists, colorists, YouTubers, all have a very well-rounded understanding of not only the applications, but the pain points of working in editorial.
When is the buzzword AI came to your attention?
I mean, the reality is that we have had AI capabilities in Premiere for 10 years now. What's interesting is that when people think about that, really the transition has been generative AI. That is really what has changed the conversation in the last year, 2 years. So starting, nearly 10 years ago, we brought auto reframe into Premiere, auto duck, auto color. We've really had a host of really robust AI tools in Premiere for a very long time. Now, recently, I'd say 2 years ago, generative AI started entering the conversation, and that's really what has shifted the dynamic of the conversation. What's interesting is a couple of years ago, we were calling it, assistive or generative. But now that conversation is even grown even more where we talk about corrective AI. So things like Gen Extend that we put into Premiere last spring really is about taking media that maybe something wasn't done entirely correctly when you captured it, and you can use things like generative extend or enhanced speech to fix things in your media. Of course, there's generative AI, so net new pixels, net new waveforms. And then we're even starting to explore into what is the world of agentic AI going to do to help creators really stay in the creative flow and let the AI take on some of the more laborious tasks.
I hope that really will be the case, because I was listening very carefully and looked at the presentations here. And some of the stuff I maybe because I'm too traditional, maybe because I'm not in the field of doing YouTube content too much in the sense of, like TikTok stuff, and it's more documentaries. No, we do, but it's not a matter that I'll put myself on a skateboard, do some tips and tricks, and then try to isolate me from the background and do some flips that were never there, for example. Yeah. So the question is really, what, at the end of the day, when I create something, what is still mine and what is not? You know what I mean?
I understand that. Yeah. I mean, I think, the biggest conversation from a Premiere perspective is we are constantly looking at what is the new functionality that's coming to Firefly, all of the new models and new capabilities that they are bringing to market. And we really look carefully of like, what of those pieces of functionality are going to service our video professionals that are working in Premiere? How and where and why are we bringing them into the pro apps? We are very particular about how we're looking at those strategies. And for the most part, those strategies are informed, like I said, by what our customers are asking us for. So enhanced speech is a very good example of, it's a functionality that came out in a beta app that was called Adobe Podcast. And very quickly, people were like, bring this to Premiere. We need this in Premiere. This is going to help us so much. And so we're really looking at our partnership with our users to tell us what are the most helpful, powerful things that we could be bringing from Firefly into Premiere. The reality is that a lot of this generative stuff, it's up to the creative what they want to implement into their workflow or they don't, because there are definitely AI creatives. There are people who are creating net new from AI and they're really creating interesting work. But the human element is what makes the work interesting, because the authenticity of voice, the story that you have to tell, whether you're generating something new or you're capturing original media, it's that personal perspective that informs the content and makes it really interesting to watch.
Okay. Let's talk more about reality. Leave the AI aside. As an editor, and I grew up in Premiere since version 4.0. Yeah, and sometimes I do think that implementation of the usage of some modern codecs and so on is a bit slow.
Okay.
Maybe you can find them in the beta version, but it's slow. New cameras are coming, new formats are coming. What is holding you guys back to introduce support for new codecs and cameras right when they're at the market?
Well, our strategy about format support has to do with our partnerships with the camera manufacturers and making sure that we're getting that information as soon as possible. To the extent of like, why are we slow? I can't really speak to that. I don't work on the format side as much, but I will tell you that we are constantly looking at what are the most used, what are the most requested formats, and making sure that we support them as fast as possible in partnership with the camera manufacturers.
Okay. Now, I remember in the not so old past, but near past, there was Adobe Rush, which we introduced for mobile phones. Suddenly now, I have Adobe Premiere on my phone. First of all, who really needs this, and what will happen to Rush?
So, who really needs it is millions of people. Since we launched Premiere Mobile at the end of September, we already have over 1 million users of the software. So there are millions and millions of people who are now editing on their mobile device. I will tell you today, walking over from my hotel to the convention center, I recorded a video walking and talking. I was doing a super session today. I do a lot of public speaking for Adobe, and often people will ask me about public speaking. How do I get over my nerves? What do I think about? And so I just did a walk and talk talking about public speaking. While I was waiting for the super session to start, I brought out my phone, and in 20 minutes I edited it, I added captions, and I posted it to Instagram and LinkedIn. So there's a growing use case for this mobile editing workflow. Now, to the question of Rush to now Premiere Mobile, Rush was not our first foray into mobile editing. We also had Premiere Clip way back when. I was also a part of that project. And the reality is that we're learning time over time. We're evolving our understanding of mobile editing, and really in today's world, what mobile editing needs to be is there was a need in the market for a professional quality video editor. So what I mean by that is we really spent a lot of time focusing on the timeline, making sure that the timeline was unlimited, an unlimited number of tracks, both for video and for audio. We know how much real professional timelines are very layered. There's a lot of need for multi-layered audio, multi-layered video, but it's also super performant, very smooth to work with. And then we've built in a lot of the AI capabilities And we announced this week this partnership with YouTube, where we're going to be bringing exclusive templates into the app that help those creators that are creating for YouTube work faster. Now, Rush was a great learning experience for us, but the way that Rush was built was slow for development. And so that is why we went back to the drawing board, redeveloped the app from the ground up, and really looked at some of the aesthetic qualities of Premiere on desktop have informed the way that Premiere on mobile looks and feels. What's great is that people who know Premiere on desktop recognize that. They say, oh, it looks familiar. Those who have never used Premiere on desktop don't know that it looks like Premiere on desktop, but what they say is, oh, it's so intuitive, it's really easy and easy to understand. But we know that if and when they may want to graduate into the more robust experience of desktop, it's going to look and feel familiar. They're going to feel like they can do it, that they're going to have this confidence because they've learned on the mobile application.
Are we going to see also an Android version of this?
Absolutely. Our teams are already working on the development of an Android app. There is a wait list for pre-release, so we can get you that link to sign up for the pre-release. But we will be bringing Android to market very soon.
How easy will it be to start a project on the Adobe Premiere Mobile and then move it to desktop?
Oh, so the functionality to start on mobile and move it into the desktop application is available now into our beta desktop. That will be coming into the GA product very soon, but it's very straightforward. Yeah, you can open it's just like opening another project. It just says open project from mobile.
Next topic, which is a little bit sore for me personally, because we are using Frame.io for work, for our professional work. But the missing link for me is to be able to edit from within Frame.io. If the footage is already there, why not to import it to the timeline and work with it? Anything new? Because it was literally silent about Frame.io in these 3 days.
All I can say is that is a very interesting workflow request, and it's not the first time I've heard it.
Nobody's watching, nobody's listening. Can you elaborate, please?
I cannot, no.
Okay, well, a smile is always a good sign. Okay, I'm looking forward because it might ease things up. You know, it's already there. So let people simply import the footage from the cloud to the timeline. Good. Anything else that I personally will be interested to know? There is public beta, which is very useful, at least for me, because I can find a lot of the codecs which are missing for me in the final version actually over there. But then what is the step back? What's happening in the back door? Well, because this is the public beta, and what is behind the public beta? There are more versions that are being worked at, or?
Well, so the public beta is literally put into release daily, if not every other day. So we are updating the public beta on a regular basis. We definitely do have some projects that are not in the public beta. One of the things that you will notice currently in public beta is AI object mask, which is the ability you just sort of hover over your screen and it snaps masks onto moving objects within your frame. That we had a private beta and we had a lot of testers behind the scenes before we ever put it into public beta. So some of our bigger initiatives are really meaty workflows that take a lot of work under the hood. We will often have a smaller private beta. To that point, AI object mask, when we started working on it, what we realized is we need to do a whole overhaul of masking and tracking in general in Premiere. So a lot of what we heard when that functionality, the AI object mask first went into beta was, oh, finally, this is here. And it did take a little longer because we had to go under the hood and really make sure that we are addressing masking as a whole, tracking as a whole. But now you're seeing new vector shape masking, and depending on what resolution footage you're working on, tracking is between 4 and 20 times faster, and it's multi-directional tracking. So not only are you seeing these updates to both traditional masking and tracking, AI object mask, we're also what we call is quality of life features, just dozens of those little tiny features that, like, unless you're an editor, they don't seem very big, but they really make a big impact in terms of the quality of life of an editor sitting in the seat. So a lot of these things are being worked on in the background. We wait for public beta to say these are ready, and we just want to harden them with the help of our community, and that's when they go into public beta.
What I will appreciate personally, because the updates are really daily, which is nice. The thing is, I would appreciate if I know what the updates are, because there is no way to verify. It says update. Okay, but what? Maybe.
Yeah, so our beta forums are a good place for that. Generally, when there's a fairly meaty, update that's added into public beta, one of the product managers will post on the beta forum to say, what has been added, or the littler things, those little quality of life things. Some of those may slip through, and then they'll give an update. But that's the best way to keep on top of it.
Good. Meagan, in all honesty, I could have sit here and talk to you until the end of the day about Adobe Premiere and the little things that you mentioned, because sometimes we do spit blood with so many other systems too. But yeah, anything that I missed or anything that you would like to highlight before I say thank you and goodbye?
No.
Okay, so let's do like this. Hopefully next year, sometimes same place, you're gonna personally introduce to me and our audience the new big updates. Is that okay? Is that a deal?
Yes, absolutely. We'll be here. Same time, same place.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.